Ah, look at this.
We are live.
Wake up, Toastmasters!
Wake up,
We're on!
Toastmasters.
Yeah.
I'm actually watching the sunrise and it's kind of like a pink hue out there. So
Hmm.
I may get distracted because I love sunrises and sunsets. No, wrong type of format.
I like them at the beach. I love
Yeah.
watching the sun sink into the ocean. Of course,
Well,
that's the west coast.
yes. Good
You can't see that in
morning.
the East Coast.
Good morning, everyone. We are live. We are with Wake Up with Toastmasters. I am your host today, Jennifer Smith, and my co-host, Gene Dunford. He's
Hey.
everybody's co-host, but you know what? He's also a host because it was part of his brainstorming that this show actually came about. And as Gene Williams says, it is a door that we had to walk through that we probably weren't ready for, but we are still here 2.5 years later, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was the host for the first show because Jean was detained in traffic she was coming home from I don't know where. But anyway,
That's still the mystery first show, right?
what's that?
That's the mystery first show. Where did it go?
Oh, no, that one. We put that one on. No,
Oh,
it
okay.
was another one that got lost. The one that Gene
I
and
think I
I like
remember the
third or
first
fourth.
show. Yeah. With it was a club.
Right.
It was
I
for
think if my memory serves me, I think it was someone Toastmasters.
yeah. And I said to myself, well, it could work, you know.
And so the people came on, and I wasn't sure what to do with them, had no direction, so I just started interviewing them.
And the rest is history.
Where were you on the night of December? Oh no, I didn't do that. We don't grill you.
The rest is history. Yeah, definitely. The show we've talked about this, how it's taken on a life of its own, especially with the different co-hosts that we have, which is great because it's more of a little news show. So for those of you who are just browsing by or scrolling by and see the two of us, we talk about Toastmasters growth, their journey. I don't know, maybe Gene can tell me how many Toastmasters are there in the world. You know,
No, I don't know
you
offhand,
don't
but
know that. Okay.
I think
So,
there's like 300 to 400,000.
yeah, there's in the world. So we are Toastmasters International, and we put on our little show, which is just maybe a little bit of Toastmasters International, where people would be able to see us. So, but if you are a Toastmaster and you're scrolling by and you see us, why don't you become a guest and let's talk about your journey, why you're a Toastmaster, how you got into Toastmasters, and what keeps you into Toastmasters. Just 3 simple questions that we ask, and it takes over about 30 minutes for you to answer those questions. So nothing to be afraid of because we are Toastmasters. We do know how to speak, and we should not be introverts. And if you are practicing your interview skills, then what a better place than our show to practice. So, and that's what we do. Toastmasters, we practice. We're not always perfect. We are just here to learn, and we learn every single day. So
that's exactly why I joined Toastmasters. I was looking for a job and going on job interview after interview after. I went to one company, a set of architects, 7 of them. I interviewed with each of the 7 partners.
Wow.
And didn't get the job.
I still didn't get the job. Did you have Toastmasters in your life at that time?
No.
See?
No.
And you know, we had my sister on here a couple of months ago, and we talked about her interview process with the panel of pastors and how she had to overcome those obstacles of just men that she's probably been mentored by, men that who have been doing this for a very long time, and asking her, why does she feel that she's fit to be a pastor? So, and she is the shyest person ever, and it was a breeze for her because of Toastmasters to get rid of those butterflies, to be able to answer questions that come to you at the at the tip of your tongue to be able to answer those questions. So she has overcome those obstacles. So during this time of maybe people are switching jobs or thinking about switching jobs, and how do I do it? How do I have a conversation? We can help you with those conversations and practice on it. So I put on. Did you have a question?
I was going to say, I was going to say one of the things we practice is what we call the elevator speech.
Mm-hmm.
So you get on the elevator with somebody and you can talk to them about something. You have something about yourself you can talk about. So you get on the elevator, you're riding up with somebody and oh, hey, I'm here for a job interview, and you talk to them about, hey, what do you know about this company? And maybe it's the guy that actually owns the company that you're riding up in the elevator with. It just makes you look a lot better.
And, one of the things about Toastmasters too is it helps you ask questions as well, because when you're listening to somebody's speech, and this wasn't even in our topic today, but when you listen to somebody's speech, you are also having questions about that person's life or about that person's occupation or that person's hobby. You're asking questions, and you will either then, after the person's presentation, go to them and ask the questions, or in our Toastmasters in the kitchen, we have the time to be able to ask questions after a presentation. So it helps you ask questions, and asking questions is actually a science. And I actually had a 45-minute presentation, not me personally, but I listened to a 45-minute presentation about the science of asking questions. And some of us are looking at each other going, why do we need to know this? But asking questions is probably an innate thing about human beings, right? We always ask questions so that we can learn more, identify more, just get the answers. So it definitely helps. Toastmasters definitely does help. And then look at all the books about asking questions. Just ask. If you need help, you need to ask. If you want questions answers, you need to ask. So there are tons of books out there too that will say that asking questions are important. So Toastmasters can help you answer and ask questions in your life. Did you have something to say?
It's important when you're talking to people that you draw them into your conversation. So you're having a conversation, even though you might be lecturing a class or you might be giving a presentation about something. Give a presentation about going to Yellowstone National Park, right? To get people interested and bring them into the conversation, ask them questions. Have you ever been to Yellowstone National Park? What was your favorite thing there? And that draws people into the conversation, and people will be listening and participating. Once you get them participating, you have them in the palm of your hand.
Absolutely, 100%. Maria Martinez-Riaquin was talking about some of the, I don't know what the series, there's a series that we have, educational series that we have, and Maria was actually giving the first part of it, and it's how to present a speech or the introduction of a speech. And guess what? The number one thing is ask a question. So I may have to change the title to our show today, because it should be, how do you ask questions?
And the other side of that is, as a Toastmaster, you be prepared to answer the question.
Yeah. And that's how we got prepared on it.
If you're in a job interview, they always ask you, do you have any questions? And you go, no.
Yeah. No, I think you answered it all.
No, ask questions. Show how interested you are in what was said.
Yeah.
If you can ask questions about what was said and you're paying attention, that shows something to the guy giving the interview.
Yes. And it's not the question that they've already answered, but you can ask, well, you can always go back to the topic. So what you were telling me earlier about XYZ, that means you, or how do you get to, or who does, just those questions would be, oh, well, she understood this, and
Right.
now she wants to know more. So
Yep.
yeah, absolutely,
Exactly it.
100%. That's a good point, Jean.
Because there are questions you shouldn't ask. You know, like, what time do I get off? Do I
Yeah.
have to be here at 7? Can I come in at 7:30?
Yeah. I know the office opens at 8, but can I come in at 9, even though I'm your
Yeah. You know,
receptionist?
I sleep the best until noon. Can I come in like at 1? I could work 1 to 5. 1 to 5 would be really easy for me.
That's
Oh,
funny.
that explains why the 7 interviews went so badly.
Yeah. Like, really? Did he say this? Let's see if he will say it with you, John.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting time in my life. I had first moved here,
Mhm.
and I'm very familiar with AutoCAD.
Uh,
It's a computerized drawing program.
yeah.
But the company that I interviewed with did not have AutoCAD. So they suggested that I buy AutoCAD, bring it in on a computer, and show it to them. That was my last interview. Was they wanted me to buy program, bring it in, show them how it works, and then they would hire me to show everybody else how it works.
It's really funny. I listened to Darren Hardy this morning, and he actually said that if you tell the person, I will put my money where my mouth is, and if you believe in this product, then you will present it at no cost or take the time and buy that machine and show them, and then they can write the check of how much they think it's worth. So it was just something summarized. But when you said that, I'm like, oh, something that Darren was talking about today. Yeah. You're like, I'm looking for a job. I can't afford the computer program.
Yeah, at the time, computers were like $8,000 or more.
Yeah.
Way back.
Even my son is amazed. I know we're supposed to be talking about Toastmasters, but my son is amazed.
Everything is Toastmasters.
Yes.
Everything is.
Everything at the computer. He's amazed at the computer and the storage in this little bitty phone where it was in this big computer once upon a time. And he'll be 21 in a couple of weeks. And it's kind of fun to listen to him understand like that evolution. Can you imagine what we are going through when we talk about phones that were attached to the wall?
Back when the Apollo missions were going to the moon,
yes,
their computer was like a little thing that would just crunch numbers. It was more like a calculator than anything else.
Yeah.
Any cell phone that you bought within the last 10 years had more power than that computer.
Yeah.
That went to the moon.
That's crazy. Yep. And it's crazy. Well, it's crazy to think that all the things that we accomplished in the past and we didn't have this device, you know.
And if you set it down somewhere and you can't find it, it becomes the most important device in the world.
Yes. Like, where is it? Like, I want to take it away so that it's not an appendage, you know, just, okay, goodbye. Where we weren't, when we were in high school or whatever, we were attached to the phones, and my brother and I were twins, and we finally got our phone rang all the time. It rang all the time. It was just me and my brother. And finally, and my dad was always involved in stuff. And so the phone rang all night long. And so we finally, I can't remember what age, but my brother and I we're twins, and we finally got a phone line for our birthday in our teenage years. And that was probably the best thing ever.
I didn't know you were a twin.
I'm a twin. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes. My brother is Jeffrey. So Jeffrey and Jeffrey.
Wow. Is he in Toastmasters?
He is not a Toastmaster. He's in Oklahoma.
Well, they have Toastmasters there.
Well, I know they do.
I know somebody in Oklahoma that's a
Well, you know what's really funny is the topic of our show today of living in a dual world. And and that's one of the things. It's so funny because I had a question to my team at work, and I asked the question, if your bags are packed, if your bags are packed and someone said, we're going on a trip, where are you going? Right. And so we were talking about the different places that we would go. And it's so funny because I say, oh yeah, well, I have met somebody from Australia who's in our Toastmasters group. Oh, I met somebody in Japan who's in our Toastmasters group. And I've met somebody from Canada who's in our Toastmasters group, because we're truly international. But if we were to pack our bags and go, we will find somebody that we have been communicating with via Zoom for the past 2 years, and we've made a friend. And it's kind of fun to know that we can go across the world, have coffee with somebody that we have been communicating with, or stay if somebody said, why don't you just come and stay with me? And it's just kind of fun that we have met these people around the world. And we are walking side by side. The video that I have for Valley Voices and Vices I found on Canva, and it is the monitors of people, the screens, and then there's people in person communicating with the monitor. So it's kind of like the robot, but now you're moving your coworker with you on a laptop. But that's who we are now. And it's just the strangest thing. My brother and I, way before the pandemic and way before virtual conferences was a big thing of our lives, we would always say the world is getting smaller. There's a book called that, The World is Getting Smaller. I haven't read it. It's a big, thick book, but it's about how we are so close, but so far away. Right? Because everybody is very intimate and very close. But as the world gets smaller, the distance doesn't matter anymore. Right? And so how are we coping with that, where we're not dealing with, skin to skin anymore, where we're here's the glass, here's the monitor, and is that our life now? So, and then we maybe don't have to travel anymore.
You were talking about the world getting smaller. Jules Verne wrote a book, Around the World in 80 Days. Remember that?
No.
And he wrote a book called Around the World in 80 Days, and he told the story of this guy that was traveling, and he made a bet that he could get around the world in 80 days. And now we can get around the world almost in like 8 hours.
I think we can get around the world in 20 minutes. Pop into that.
If you're digital, yes. If you're sitting strapped to his seat, the wings, you might take a little longer, but
well, and
you were talking.
It's great, right? It's great. Like I would want to call her maybe a mentor, but she is in Canada, Doris, and we've had her on the show. I love her to death. And I can't wait to actually meet her in person. But do I really need to meet her in person because of the fact that we have our dual life here, our dual world? And at first, when I heard the theme from Peggy Prince, that's her theme for the show or for the meeting, I was like, how am I going to make that work in marketing? Right? And soon as I plugged it in Canva, the whole people communicating and the computers and the monitors came up, and I just said, wow, that's how I'm going to make it work, because that's what she's talking about. Because she even said, well, are we kissing screens now? And that's the world. So let's talk about in the dual world of like online dating, where people don't have to now, do they even have to go out and meet each other, because now we have the Zoom. So it's just kind of interesting about that. So, but the dual world of Toastmasters has made it easier, when we were talking about my brother in Oklahoma, easier for him to join me in a Toastmasters meeting, or even my brother in Germany, or I still say Germany, Italy. He's in Italy now. It does make it easier for them to pop in on a meeting because of the different time zones or whatever. They can pop in and see what we're all about, because I think the 7:30 Valley Voices and Vices, I think it's 4:30 his time in Italy. So how do you, Jeannie, I mean, you are always in different Toastmasters. How do you feel about that dual world? And in your time before retirement, how would you be able to operate in the virtual world or in-person world?
I like the online side of Toastmasters. If you look at our international conferences we just had, that was in Nashville, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't afford to go to that.
Yeah.
And there was an online package where you could get the entire 3 days of it. I guess it was like 3 or 4 days of
3
it.
days. Mm-hmm.
And you got that, and you could be there and see it live happening on Zoom, right?
Yeah.
I think it was $75, something like that.
I think it was $45.
45, okay.
Very affordable, very doable. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and that's in, and like meetings.
Yeah.
Back during the pandemic when everything was really locked down, we were forced into Zoom.
Yeah.
Because we were trying other medias and everything, and Zoom seemed to work best for us. But with Zoom, we could do meetings. You were talking earlier about meetings, Doris. Jean and I have been in a club online that this lady lives near Reno. We've never met her. And we were saying, hey, we're going to go on a road trip. We're going to go up there and we're going to meet her and go to the meeting that she goes to in Reno. And why not?
Yeah.
It's not that far, and just do a little road trip. So that's the thing of the online meetings. And, you know, we see her like every week because we go to that meeting, but we have never really met in person. And so we thought that would be a really cool thing to do, is to go all the way up to Reno and pop into the meeting and say, hey, here we are.
Like you're popping off the screen. What's going on?
and she probably missed that day.
Yeah.
But,
well, you know, it is very interesting. When before the pandemic, I was all for trying to do online meetings to get people from different parts of the world to come join our meeting. And I did a presentation and I was all excited. And so we can do this, we can do this. And then we were forced into the pandemic or forced to, you know, however I can stay inside. And then people were dropping out because they didn't want to look at the screen anymore. And I don't know if the pandemic if it would not have happened, how would our world be with this virtual reality, right? Because of the fact that would it be then people would have said, they would have the opportunity to have a choice to be on a Zoom call versus this is the only way that we can stay put, right? So it would be very, very interesting. So at that time, then once we came on Zoom, I had a friend who was trying to always make it to the meetings whenever she came into town. And as soon as we were shut down, she was on the Zoom call. So I said, well, it does work. But then again, like I said, we lost some other people who said, I don't want to be on a square box. And I want to, when we go back in person, let me know. So it's interesting to see, you know, the pros and cons of being in person or being virtual. And I can't wait to see our meeting and how our other Toastmasters will answer these questions, because we are live again at Valley Voices Advices. We are live meeting in person and hybrid. So we will have that dual world. And because Etta still pops in and a few other people pop in as well. And, you know, and if you're not feeling good, the whole thing is stay home. So you're feeling good enough to meet, but not good enough to be in person. That's another option. And people for time restrictions too, or if your car's not working, or I gotta be here, so I'm just gonna be on screen, that will work as well. And that's one of the reasons why we like the hybrid as well, and not just only to accommodate people from out of state, out of the country, but just the convenience of it as well.
I was going to say, let me know when they have an open house at Valley, and I'd love to come.
Yeah,
Haven't been in a long time to the club, and
yep, we are planning on having, we're back in person, I think in September. We're planning on having an open house. We will talk more about it. We just had to know what days, and well, we're going back and forth because of the fact that the person who opens up the room for us may go on vacation or whatever. So, or there's a meeting, and we told them, hey, no problem. We got the Zoom thing down, you know. So, I think this Friday we will know what day that we'll be able to have the open house, because I really, you know, I really want to have an open house where I want people to either be online or be in person. I think it's important that we show that we are in person again, and show some of the communities, the businesses around where we meet, that there is a way to grow your employees through Toastmasters. And if people do not realize how either you, one, are in leadership, and that you can grow with Toastmasters, and also once you're a Toastmaster and your employees are Toastmasters as well, the increase in production, the increase in revenue, if you don't realize that, and people are not realizing it and don't see the benefit, but trust me and believe me that it does work. The program works very, very well.
As a corporation, the one thing that I see that benefits the corporation just so much is you get people from different departments who join a Toastmaster club, and they come together for a meeting. They get to know each other. People who know each other work better together than people who they're separated into their department. We don't really know what that department even does. And here they come to a Toastmaster meeting and they say, well, I'm so-and-so and this is what I do at work. And then it's like, well, wow, I didn't know they did that. And so that if you want to go get a check cut for a part you have to buy or something, you just walk over there and say, hey, Susan, how was the meeting? I really enjoyed what you said. By the way, I need to buy. And you have that interconnection of people in your company that are learning to be better speakers, better leaders, but they're also getting to know about what the company is all about. Unless you're like a top secret government agency and you don't want the people who are paying the checks to know what the people that are getting the checks are doing with them, you got a lot that you can gain from that. Better speakers, better leaders.
Yeah, we used to have our department, we have sales and title and escrow, and it's always the three of us was always a mystery to each other, and we didn't know how to communicate with each other. And I think that it's definitely something that I know Jean's pushing me to do the book Toastmasters to help charter that, but I also want to do two speech crafts, right? One for youth leadership and then one speech craft for my company. So we'll see how January plays out, but it's definitely time for us to get off our line. It's 6:30, so I still say get off the line. It's time for me to get off the phone. But
hang up that phone.
If you guys have any questions, put them in the comments. If you have any comments, if you like the show, tell us you like the show. If you think the show can be improved by anything, why don't you come and be a guest, because that would definitely improve the show, is if we had more guests. I love Phyllis pulling her friends out of the woodwork of saying, come on my show. So Phyllis is doing a great job. Ken's doing a great job.
If you would like to promote your club, this is a great place to do it. To have 3 or 4 members come online and talk about the club.
And then
we would love to have you.
Yeah, then share it. Either you can download it, share it via email, or
put it on Facebook. Put it on your Facebook page.
Put it on your Facebook. You can put it on LinkedIn. It is definitely a great way to promote. You know, all day long we try to think about different ways to promote our clubs, and social media is not the end all be all, but it's definitely an opener. So,
and the thing is, we're a free resource for the Toastmasters to come on and promote their club. Whereas they could take out an ad in the newspaper, or they could buy an ad somewhere else. We got this show going, and we've got, I don't know, probably, what do you think, 3,000 people that watch us?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
yeah,
all right. Well, on that note, Jean Dunford, I am getting off the line.
Yeah, hang up that phone.
my dual world.
Thanks for being here. Made a better show than I would have with just my hat on.
Well, last week I just deleted the show because I was by myself and I'm like, ugh, and I deleted it. All right, let me end this real quick. You guys have a great day. It is Wednesday and enjoy your day.
Yep.